Hey, what's up, everyone? Kino here, back with the reaction to the last episode of Dune Prophecy. I know this is like a week or so late. It came out like the Sunday before like Christmas and stuff, so I was just busy and I didn't have a chance to record. And then after a few days, I'd kind of like forgotten to record, so we're finally getting back to it. But uh, yeah, so I watched the final episode and I was very disappointed. In some things within the show itself, but also I'm kind of disappointed by this era that we live in. Like we've been seeing this kind of shrinkflation of television shows where because shows are getting like so expensive to make, and I'm sure this show was very expensive. All the CGI and the sets, they did a really good job emulating the look of the movies. It felt like it felt like this existed in the Dune universe, even though this is 10,000 years right before the events of Dune. So you have some license to be like, yeah, things are different because things would change. But they, in terms of the visual look of the show, I think they did a really good job with it. But because shows are so expensive nowadays, we only get like 6 episodes a show. Like 6 episodes is a mini series, all right? Like that is not a full season of a television show. Shows back in the day used to have 20 episodes a season. Now, granted, a lot of those were like sitcoms and other like just very stuff that doesn't cost a lot of money to make. But even if we look at HBO, they kind of trademarked or not trademarked, but they kind of set up this like 13 episode season for their dramas. The Sopranos did that. The Wire did that occasionally. Sometimes it'd be a little bit less. Sometimes it'd be like 12, or at the last season it was only 10. But even still, 13 episodes, that's a good number. A lot of streaming sites nowadays, they do 10 episodes. But man, lately we're getting into like the 6 episode seasons where I just felt like there was not enough time. Like, I've said my problems with the show. I felt like when we focus on the characters, I'm kind of invested because I kind of like I like some of these characters. I like Valia. I like the sister. We didn't really get to learn about much of the other characters. Like, I'll give you a great example. The princess they're trying to put on the throne. They're like, we have this conspiracy to put a Bene Gesserit on the throne. Or do they even call it the Bene Gesserit? They always call it the Sisterhood. I don't know if they've ever actually referred to it as the Bene Gesserit. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm familiar with some of Dune's lore, but I'm not a huge nerd about it. So I wasn't paying attention to all this stuff. But, like, so the whole show is about putting this princess on the throne. We know nothing about her. Like, she's vaguely good because she didn't want her. She went against her father for using Desmond Hart to murder that guy. And he's like, and it's like, okay, well, what else about her makes her a good ruler? Like, I understand they had that whole thing where it's like, well, genetically she's gonna have her father's stability and her mother's ambition, and that's the best of both worlds. But like, I don't think that actually works in real life. I don't think just because you have some genetic, you get some genetics from your mother and father that it ends up where you have a mix of both of their personalities and you're the best of both worlds and you're going to be the perfect ruler. It's like she's shaped by her individual choices too. I'm very, very confused with how the quote unquote magic works in this show, because there's so much like powers and stuff in this show that does not feel like it's part of Dune. Like, again, I've said this before, but the whole voice thing, I always thought that was like, since Dune's all about like how humans have trained themselves to be like the apex of their powers. Like, since they can't use thinking machines anymore, they use mentats, human computers, right? I always thought the voice was like, the Bene Gesserit have studied psychology and they understand the human mind so much that they can temporarily take control of your brain by changing the frequency of their voice to mess with your neurons. Kind of, I always thought it was something like that, but it comes off here like a magic power that Valia just kind of had genetically. It didn't feel like she had trained herself on how to do that. Sure, she can train other people how to do it too, but it felt like this thing she just unlocked genetically, which kind of doesn't feel like Dune to me. The girl who can transform is so weird. They did this sequence with her, so it's like she transformed into Valia's brother. I don't know what the purpose of that was. Just to reassure, I guess Valia asked her to do it just so she could reassure her that she did the right thing. Weird sequence. I get that they just wanted to introduce you to the fact that she had the transformation power, but I don't know how that works. I think it might be tied to who the bad guys are, the one who put the robot eye in Desmond's eye. But so they do this weird sequence in this last episode where she transforms into the princess, right? Because they're taking the princess, they're gonna leave because Desmond's taking control along with the empress of the empire. She transforms into the princess and is like, I'm gonna pretend to be you so you can escape. And then she transforms into a guard in order to stab Desmond Hart at the end there. I think that's what happened. Which I was like, well, why did we transform into the princess? Like, this was just a waste of time. It was just weird. Like, I think the reason they did it was just so that you wouldn't know she was the guard, so it would surprise you as the audience. But that's just cheap. That's just like, that doesn't make sense. The characters are acting in a way that doesn't make sense in order for the suspense of the show. And I wouldn't care so much about all these little plot holes like this, except for the fact that the show makes a big point about like how the sisters they're so smart and they planned out every single thing. So when they make a mistake, it's like, well, I thought you guys were like the master planners who had planned out the entire future of the empire. So how do you make this stupid mistake? The fact that they kept the dead bodies of Dorothea and all the acolytes they killed, just right there, I was like, you guys know you could just take them outside and burn them, right? Or dissolve them in acid or any of the other stuff you do. Why did you just leave them here at the bottom of this pit to be skeletonized? It just doesn't make sense to me that they're so smart that they can plan out the future of the empire, but then they make this stupid stuff. And it's not even like a character flaw. Like, I could understand that the show is also attempting to show Valia's flaws, right? As smart as she is and as driven as she is, she's also very prideful and arrogant, and that can at times affect the people around her. That's why the sister at the end used the voice on her to stop her from killing Desmond. It's something she didn't plan on, the fact that the sister would lie to her, and she's like, I'm a wolf too, I can, you're not the only one who can have plans within plans or whatever. But this is just a stupid mistake that doesn't make sense. And the show is all about perfect execution and planning, so it's just weird. But overall, it was a kind of interesting show. Like I said, the first couple episodes, I was like, oh man, I'm actually kind of into this. Like, I love that Two Wolves episode where we got to see the backstory of the sisters. I thought that was very strong, very great character writing. But man, these last few episodes just plot, and Dune's plot is stupid. Like, I'm sorry, like Dune's plot is just dumb. Its themes are cool. The ideas that it gets at about like humanity and religion and all this stuff are very interesting themes, but the actual story, when you break it down, is like just really dumb. So that's always been Dune's weakness, and I said at the beginning that I was hoping that we'd focus a little bit less on the plot side here and a little bit more on the characters, because that was the weakest point of the Dune movies for me, was the characters. So we sort of got a little bit of that, but not really. I thought Desmond's motivation, his mommy left him, was stupid. I thought the fact that the sister is his mom, like, they had zero interaction until the very last scene, which, again, if this was a 10-episode season, this would be the 2/3 mark. This would be a great time to have that conflict, and then we could have it play out more. But yeah, this show really needs like 10 episodes. Like, shows can't survive on just 6 episode seasons. Squid Game just came out recently, same exact thing, 6 episodes. Really hurts the flow. Like you're like just getting into it, and then you're like, oh, it's over. Make sure you stay subscribed to Netflix for another year till this show comes out. Fucking Stranger Things, like 2 3 episode seasons. It's like, no, but they're 2 hours long. No, that fucks up the pacing so badly. So yeah, the show it has its pros and its cons. I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10. Not the greatest, not the absolute worst, but I don't know. We'll probably check out the next season when it comes out. But overall, thanks for watching this, guys, and stay tuned for more reactions coming soon.